Hey friends, welcome back to Mark Kelly Farm. We're still getting this weird fall-like weather. It's been raining and haven't been able to work outside much, but we've got a little break in the rain today, and I'm going to jump back on a project I've been working on for a friend, something I really enjoy doing. So let's get back on it. So we got my friend Scott's dump trailer here. We were over at his house doing the corn here a while back, and I'd mentioned the fact that I was looking for a dump trailer to haul some material with. He says, "Oh, I got one I'm not using out back. You're welcome to borrow it any time." So we hooked it up, and there was none of the lighting worked or anything like that. The brakes didn't work. So I told him, well, I'll take it home and I'll fix all those issues. We'll get it going back on the road, and I'll use it and I'll bring it back to you. Now, anytime I borrow something from somebody, I always try to take it back in a better condition what I found it. And in this case, there's a lot we can do with this trailer. I really enjoy doing 12-volt wiring, something I've always enjoyed doing. I'm pretty good at it. I've been doing it for a long time. So we've already done some work on here that we didn't show you, so we'll show you where we're at now. So when we plugged this trailer in, nothing worked. Well, we found out a bunch of the wires were disconnected in here. They were broke. Found some other stuff that was wrong. There was 3 places where the brake wires for the axles, this has electric brakes on it. There was 3 places where they were worn through and bare and shorting out onto the frame. So we've got those items fixed. And then what we did is we went and purchased a 12-volt junction box here. So I've added this junction box to the trailer, and I've wired in all the wires coming from the back of the trailer for the lights. And we also wired in this battery into the junction box. So now what we need to do is I bought a new pigtail that goes to the truck to plug into the truck, because this old pigtail was just an abomination. Crazy stuff, even like household screw connectors, just ugly. It also had this battery, breakaway battery here, just wired onto the frame here, which runs your breakaway switch. So this cable hooks to your truck, and if your trailer breaks away from the truck or comes off the ball, it pulls this pin out here and supposed to send power to your brakes and lock the brakes on your trailer. So with this abomination that was going on here and this thing that was wired on, I was telling my friend Scott, you really don't even need this battery, because this trailer has a battery on it to run the hydraulic dump. So we don't really need an extra battery since there's already 12 volt here. So what I've done is I've run a hot wire from the battery to the junction box, and also this ground wire. This battery is also grounded to the frame, which is good. So when we bring the wires from the pickup, or the plug, we're going to utilize this old plug. We'll wire everything into this junction box, and all your connections will be right here. Real convenient. If you ever have an issue and you need to check on things, you can just pull the lid off of that junction box, probe around with your test light, and see what's going on. So we need to continue on with this. We're able to lose this. We're going to get rid of this box here, and there's the battery that came out of it. And then we're going to take this crazy piece of wire off of here, and then we also need to test our breakaway still, see if it's still in good working order. So the first thing I'm going to do is kind of cut this nasty rat's nest of wire out of here, and then we'll run our new wire to the junction box. Okay, we've got the old mess cut out of there, and I'm sure that wasn't Scott's mess. I'm sure he got the trailer this way. He said he bought this trailer for $800, which is an absolute smoking deal. If you've ever priced dump trailers, they go for, depending on the size, this size here would probably cost you 10 or 12 grand. So $800 for a dump trailer, smoking deal. So let's get back to this. The old wire that we took off is no longer long enough because of all the splices and stuff that were made. And it's got a bad spot here in the middle. So we're going to junk that wire. We got a new one. We've determined we needed a 6-foot long cable. So we're going to rob this plug off of here, which should still be good. And we're going to put this plug onto this new wire. Okay, we got our plug taken apart. How you do that is you loosen this screw here, which allows the wire to go through here. And then on your other side, there's a little tiny screw here that you have to back off, and that allows this plug to pull out of the casing there. So now we just got to get a screwdriver, loosen all these screws and pull these wires loose, and then we can take our plug off. Well, it was actually a good thing that all those trailer wires were disconnected in here, because if they were connected and I plugged this in, we probably would have shorted everything out, because all of these wires are in the wrong place. The only one that's in the right place is this blue wire. They're all labeled here on the back as to what color goes where, and the colors represent different things. Like green is right turn, yellow is left turn, and so on and so on. Blue is trailer brakes. Red is generally your power coming from your vehicle, your 12-volt power. So we're going to take this off and we'll get it wired up correctly to code. Alright, we figured out what the issue was with our wiring colors. This, every now and then you run across a plug that is wired or labeled for some different weird code that's like not here in the United States or something else somebody else has come up with, because there's not even a yellow wire indicated on here for our left turn. So what we need to do is we need to figure out the plug on the truck, figure out which wire's which, and then once we do that, we can wire it accordingly on this weird plug, and then it'll be correct. Once we bring it back, the correct wires will be the correct things. So the cool thing on my Chevy here is we got this diagram right here on the outside of the plug. So all I got to do is snap a picture of this, and then I'll have our layout. So we need to look at the back of the plug, and this is the top of the plug, because that diagram shows the plug-in on the inside, so that would correspond with the back of this plug. So looking at the diagram, this is our full-time hot coming from the truck here. This right here is our parking lamps, left turn, right turn. This is our trailer brakes. This right here is our negative, and the one in the middle is backup lights, which we won't need on this trailer because we don't have backup lights, but we will hook them up just in case something needs to be added later. Alright, we got all of our wires plugged in, and we've confirmed that they are in the right position. Now, normally you would need to make sure that you put this on the wire before you wire everything up, and I've done that before, but since our other end of that wire is still not connected, we can shove it in from the other end and put our boot over our plug. Alright, there's our plug ready to go, and now we can feed it in through the front of our trailer there. Got our wire ran all the way up here, plenty of room to reach the truck. The trailer manufacturer put these little pipes on here to run our wire through, so that was convenient. Now in our box, we had to take out one of these little rubber plugs that just slide right out. They're on all four sides, and then you've got to cut the hole out, open it up, and then we fed our wire through. Then it's got a clamp that holds your wire to keep it from pulling out of the box or putting pressure on these little wires. And then we just have to shorten our wires to what terminal we need them on and put our little terminal ends on it. So before I get that going, I'm going to check our breakaway plug here to make sure the power runs through it correctly. And then the cable's all jacked up, so we bought a new cable. So what I need to do is put power to it and make sure in this position with the plug in here that no power gets through this. This is basically just a switch. So in this configuration here, there's no connection in here. So when this plug pulls out, it closes that connection and sends power through. So basically what we do is we bring 12 volt to this, and then the other wire goes back and connects to the brake terminal on our junction box. So if this gets pulled, it sends 12 volt power to our brakes and locks our brakes up. So we're just going to check this real quick and make sure it does actually work. We put our new cable on. I got a coiled cable, so this stays tight when it goes to the truck, and it doesn't hang down here dragging on anything or get caught on anything on the hitch. It's got a really nice connector to it, a big one, so that'll come in handy. So let's give it a try. Okay, we've got our little test wire connected to one side of this. We have our test light connected to the other pole of this. So right now you see we have no power, so that's good. So let's pull our brake away. It's got a pretty heavy pull on it. So now that we've got it pulled out, you see we have power. So we'll put it back in. Shove it back in, power goes out. So our switch in fact works. So that's good. Now to wire this switch in, most of the time people will break into this wire right here, grab the hot and the brake line and scab this into it. I don't want to break this wire right here. We've got a nice clean installation. So what we're going to do is get a 2-wire flat. We'll connect to these wires and we'll run them clear to the junction box and do our connection in there. A lot cleaner. Again, we're not breaking the wire because we want solid runs. So when we're checking, if we have a wire issue, we check at the plug, we check at the box, we check at the light. Everything else is a solid run that we shouldn't have a problem with. Now, anytime I connect wires, I do them at different lengths so you don't have both connectors here in a bulky little spot. It stays a lot more compact when you do it this way. Got our wires all connected. We've got a piece of loom on here. We've zip tied it to our other cable coming back. We came into the junction box. We put one side of it over here to the blue terminal, which goes to the trailer brakes. And we also hooked up the blue wire coming from the truck, also to the trailer brake terminal. And then we put the other terminal here to the hot wire. And we also brought the hot wire from the truck and put it on that same terminal. So now as this trailer gets towed down the road, the 12 volt power from the truck will charge this battery as it's going down the road. So that's a good thing, so you don't have to keep this thing on a battery charger all the time. If you use this trailer often, it'll charge going down the road, and when you get to where you need to use the battery to dump, it'll have power in the battery. Now, if you have a camping trailer, it works the same way. That 12 volt comes from the truck and charges your battery on your camp trailer. So we've got all of our corresponding wires hooked up. So I'm going to test our lights now. So all I have to do is jump from our hot terminal, which goes to our battery, and whatever terminal I want to test. Right now I've jumped over to the right turn, so let's go check. Okay, we've got right turn, which is also your brake light. Now we've jumped to our left turn, which is yellow. Come back here and check. And we have our left turn and brake light. Now we're on our brown wire, which is our tail lights and clearance lights. You can see that's the dimmer bulb in there. It's on. Make sure the right side is on. And it is. And the only problem I see is our marker lights up here are not on. That one's not on. And that one's not on. So we'll check that out here in a minute. So all of our lights work. So now I'm going to check my brakes. And when I touch this, I should hear the magnets clicking back in the brakes. Hear that clicking back there? So our brakes are working. Cool deal. Now we can put the cover on this thing. So before we put the cover on, we've got our clearance lights wire here. We're taking a look at this. It's got a little loop. You can see it's got a bare spot in it. So this probably used to have a Scotch lock in it going to the brown wire down here. But what we're going to do is we're going to run this right into the junction box, which is right here on the other side. And we'll tie it right to the tail light post. That should fix our problem. So this is a Scotch lock. What it does is connects one wire to another wire. Then we ran the wire in, connected it to the tail light circuit. We've jumped it across, but we still don't have any light. So that leads me to believe there's issues with the light. Same thing over here. This light isn't working, but I can look right down in there and tell you that bulb is toast. So that's our issue. We'll pull our jumper wire off and then fix those lights. I just happen to have 2 of these lights in my stock here in the shop. So we'll get both of these traded out real quick. All it is one bolt. It grounds right to the frame, and you only have 1 wire coming out of your light. You got to make sure you feed the wire through this little slot so it doesn't get pinched. Another slot right there. New lights are installed and they are working. So that's another thing fixed. Cool deal. I'm going to blow all the rainwater out of this box because we're going to seal it up now. Got our watertight cover put back on. Now we can go ahead and take our braces out, lower our bed down. Well, let's get the pickup over here. We'll plug in these lights and see what we got going on. Got the truck hooked up. I don't like that kind of pin for this application, so we're going to go get a better pin for that. There, that's the pin that should be in there. So let's give our lights a try. Alright, we hit our trailering button there so we can test our lights. Pretty handy, you can do it with one person. Tail lights are on, we can see that. Check all the rest of them. Tail lights are on back here. Brake lights. Left turn. Right turn. Check our other tail light over here. Or marker light. It's on. Good to go. Now that we have everything figured out front, we've got an issue here in the back that he's been dealing with. When you open the door, it pinches the light right here and breaks the light. So that's why this light is broken. So we've got something to remedy that. You can see we also got kind of a crazy wiring job back here. Got household wire nuts. So what we have in place of those lights are these weld-on field beam light boxes for LED lights. We're going to put them right there so they're down out of the way and they don't hit the gate, and they're far enough back when you dump the trailer they're not going to hit on the bottom or anything, but those will weld right up underneath there. Got the trailer in the shop. You can see it's a pretty tight fit. We got her in there. So let's get these light buckets welded on here, and then we'll get rid of all this other old stuff. Got our new lights mounted. It appears they're working just fine. Let's see them go through another cycle here. Brake lights. Left turn. Right turn. Got marker lights over here on the right. Marker light also on the left. Good deal, a lot cleaner installation. We've got the wire in the loom down here, so that'll be a lot nicer. Let's open the tailgate and make sure they clear. Not a problem, gate swings around just fine. Well, after we got all the lights done, I found a couple more things that needed done. The fender brace under here was missing. So the fender was kind of floppy. You can see how tore up this fender is, but believe it or not, it was much worse. We straightened this out with a hammer. It was all mangled. The ends were all bent in from some point. A tire got blown on here. Remember, folks, when you're pulling trailers, make sure you check the air in your tires, because if your tires are low, you'll have a blowout and you'll rip the fenders off your trailer. The other thing it needed was the safety brace down here that goes and hooks up here when you're working under here. It was just laying down on top of the axle, so we created a little saddle over there for it to sit in, so it's not riding on the axle. But we're done for now. I think tomorrow I'm going to pick up a little rattle can black paint just to do both fenders with, because neither fender has any paint on it. And then when this thing's road ready, we'll be able to use it for what we borrowed it for and then take it back to Scott. I love doing stuff like this. I love working on the trailers and fixing little things. It was a fun project. I hope you enjoyed it too, and I hope you learned something. So come back and see us at Mark Kelly Farm. Until then, stay safe, stay healthy. We love you guys. We'll see you soon.